Hello everyone and welcome to the 2009 Upper St. Clair High School Halls of Fame induction ceremony. My name is Lou Angelo and it is truly my honor and privilege to be your Master of Ceremonies this evening. Before we get started, I would like to introduce and ask you to stand first and then introduce our Chanticleers led by Ms. Lorraine Milliback. They will be performing the Star Spangled Banner in our alma mater, so please stand.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, though bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave? All hail, alma mater, all hail the black and white, all hail, alma mater, our sign of truth and right. Her strength and honor shall last, while future triumphs are past. So hail to the Panther's reign, and to dear old Upper St. Clair.
Please be seated. Thank you, Chanticleers and Ms. Milliback. I do want to mention that the Chanticleers, under the direction of Ms. Milliback, have been invited to perform at the Pennsylvania Music Educators Association State Annual In-Service Conference in April. They were selected out of 140 other applicants, and this honor certainly reflects their commitment to excellence. Congratulations. Before we begin with the speakers, I would like to take a moment to acknowledge some of our special guests. From our school board, we have our president, Ms. Sandy Villerbeck. Please stand. Mr. Frank Kerber. And Dr. Bill Sikowski. From the district central office, we have our acting assistant to the superintendent, Dr. Sharon Saritsky. And our Director of Literacy, Assessment, and Professional Development, Dr. Judy Beleza. And additionally, we have a number of past inductees who have joined us for the ceremony this evening. Please stand and be recognized. Thank you all for your support. Our first speaker is someone who earned his doctorate degree by the time he was 27 years old from Washington and Jefferson, he holds degrees from Washington and Jefferson, Duquesne, and Carnegie Mellon. He's been part of our district for the last 9 years and currently serves as our high school principal, where some of his initiatives have included the 9th grade mentoring program, Asian studies, including Chinese and Arabic languages, the PSSA tutorial program for 9th and 12th grade students, and the development of the academic integrity policy. In his spare time, he attends classes to earn his superintendent's letter of eligibility and works as an adjunct professor at California University of Pennsylvania. And something you may not know about Dr. Delaney is that he's a real lover of dogs. In fact, he just purchased his 4th dog. Now that may sound a little excessive to some of you, but when you're the principal, you have to buy your friends. Please help me welcome Principal of the High School, Dr. Michael Glenn.
Unfortunately, there is a little truth to that. Good evening. I'd like to start off by congratulating this year's inductees. For the last 9 years since I've been in Upper St. Clair, we've always talked about, every year we bring such a special group of people and induct them into our Hall of Fame, yet we never seem to make a true connection with those of our past, with the students of our future. And Lou and the committee have done a wonderful job in transforming this ceremony into something where we've begun to make connections. The last few years that Mr. Angelo has run the Halls of Fame, his focus has been on reconnecting. We've put more emphasis into the mingling before the Halls of Fame and the dinner afterwards to hopefully help those who are coming back and being inducted into the Hall of Fame reconnect with those from their past. Whether it's former administrators, former teachers, or members of the community they may not have seen in a while. We really put a focus on reconnecting. This year, the committee, with Mr. Angelo's guidance, focused on making connections. We felt that we have such special graduates from this high school that there had to be a way to capture their intelligence, to capture their inventiveness, to capture their enthusiasm, and somehow connect that with our current students. And I know the committee put a great deal of thought in ways to manage that and capture those characteristics. And this year, for the first time, we had many of our inductees come into the building during the day. They were each assigned a student to walk with them throughout the day, go to classes with them. There was a lunch where the student was able to join them for the luncheon, as well as teachers and administrators. The inductees were able to go into classes. I know in some instances, I know we had one inductee spoke on 3 different topics to 3 different groups of students. And that really is what this is all about. It's about sharing what has made you successful with our students. Because I think anytime you can provide students with a model or with a roadmap, they're going to be better served and see the successes that may await them after high school. And I think I'm gracious to our inductees, but I'd also like to thank Mr. Angelo and the committee, because I think for the first time, we've begun to really make a connection with our students and have the Halls of Fame recognized. One more addition this year was that Mr. Angelo was able to have the Hall of Fame inductees recognized at our pep rally. I know one of our Hall of Fame inductees was never fond of pep rallies, Dr. Kushner, but it was nice to see him lead the pack of inductees out into the pep rally this year. His famous quote was, "The best thing about a pep rally is when it's over." However, it was nice to have our entire student body see the models of success that this high school, that our faculty has produced over the years. And I said, this year the topic was making connections. And I think the topic for future Halls of Fame needs to be sustaining connections. Because I hope the connections that we began to forge tonight, with our students, our community, our administration, will forge and sustain into the future, and we'll be able to maintain and sustain those connections to continue to capture the great things that Upper St. Clair instills in its students and those who graduate from this great high school. Thank you.
I do want to say just one thing in regards to what Dr. Delaney just spoke about. It took the effort of a lot of people to make that happen today. And I did very early on after the number of the inductees spoke to our kids. I was able to speak to some of those students who had said in one of those sessions, each of them had nothing but great things to say about that opportunity. So we were really fortunate to be able to have a number of them commit their day to us. And we know, I'm sure it was a very busy day in their lives outside of being here, so we certainly thank you all for doing that. Our next speaker started his career as a 6th and 7th grade teacher in 1979. 9 years later, he worked as an administrative intern with one of our previous superintendents, Dr. William Pope, and then began his administrative career at Greenville High School. Since 1988, he's been working his way up the administrative ranks, and for the last 9 years has served as a superintendent in districts such as Shenango area, Butler County, and Upper St. Clair. He lives in Butler County with his wife Tracy, who is a chemistry teacher at Seneca Valley High School, and his son Patrick, who is 5 years old. If you've had the pleasure of meeting Dr. O'Toole, one thing that may stand out to you is his calm demeanor. So it shocked me to find out that he has 8 brothers and sisters. He's also a big Pirates fan. Now I know what you're saying to yourselves. You're saying, Lou, our superintendent lives in Butler and loves the Pirates? Well, yes, but, well, you're right, I really can't defend those choices. Sorry, Dr. O'Toole. Please help me welcome our superintendent of schools, Dr. Patrick O'Toole.
Thank you, Mr. Angelo. If my son was here, he'd correct you. He's 6 now. Before my official welcoming remarks, I first wish to thank everyone who is responsible for making these ceremonies happen, specifically our Hall of Fame committee members for your dedication and support. Special thanks to Mr. Angelo, Dr. Kalani, Jim Bennett, Jane Holman, Jim Render, Kathy Kirsch, and I know I left some individuals out, but all of those who were responsible for making today such a successful day. It is a high honor for me to be asked to welcome the 2009 Upper St. Clair High School Hall of Fame inductees back to your alma mater for this special honor. I also welcome the family and friends of our inductees, as well as our USC students, teachers, administrators, board members, retirees, and community members. The primary reason why I look forward to this annual event so much is the look of pride on the faces of our inductees and their families. On behalf of the district, I congratulate each member of the Hall of Fame class of 2009. Moreover, I thank you. I thank you because every time your name is mentioned as an Upper St. Clair graduate, the value of every diploma of every USC graduate, past, present, and future, is enhanced. On this occasion of the 10th anniversary of the USC Hall of Fame, it is gratifying to see several new dimensions added to our program, as Dr. Galani and Mr. Angelo mentioned. This has given our inductees the opportunity to share their experiences and expertise with our students. And it reinforced, as I listened to the topics that were discussed with our students today, it reinforced one of our strategic plan goals of preparing our students for this interconnected world in which they're going to live and work. And I thank you for that, because of the vast experiences that you have had as students and as professionals in the world, and bringing that back to share with our students today. In addition, the Hall of Fame members have recently inquired about opportunities for Hall of Fame members to assist our current and future USC students. We look forward to many possibilities associated with this endeavor. Once again, welcome Upper St. Clair High School Hall of Fame class of 2009. Thank you for your contribution to our school district. We look forward to placing your name on the Hall of Fame marquees, a very high place of distinction in our school district. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. O'Toole. And I did make that note in my speech this year, so I will get that right next year. In late 1999, Jim Render approached Jane Holman about starting a high school Hall of Fame, but this would be no ordinary Hall of Fame. Just as the new high school building had been designed by 3 archways to reflect and inspire excellence in academics, arts, and athletics, the Halls of Fame would be created to celebrate those individuals who had excelled in those 3 areas. With the approval and ingenuity of people like Dr. Pope and Tom Labens, Jim Render, Jane Holman, and Jim Bennett set out to make this idea a reality. Their mission, as was so eloquently written by Mr. Joe DePalma, was to identify and to honor those who have distinguished themselves in academics, the arts, or athletics at the high school, collegiate, or professional level, and who, in so doing, have contributed to the pride and prestige of Upper St. Clair High School. After countless meetings and hours of preparation, Jim, Jane, and Jim, and the Upper St. Clair School District and community celebrated the induction of the first Halls of Fame class in 2000. Since then, we have inducted 194 members, and tonight we will induct 12 more. To introduce our inductees into the Athletic Hall of Fame is a gentleman whose name is synonymous with Upper St. Clair. He has been a part of our district since 1979 and has brought a great deal of recognition and pride to our high school. Coach Render has well over 300 wins as a football coach, with 18 conference championships, 5 Whitfield championships, and 2 state championships. I've known Coach Render for over 10 years, and during this time I've learned 2 critical life lessons. The first is never lose to Mount Lebanon. And the second is no matter what, never lose to Mount Lebanon. Please help me welcome Coach Render.
About Central Avenue. And Julie, by the way, for those of you that don't know, Julia's uncle is Terry Todd, coach of Central Catholic. I thought they told you that your enshrinement had been revoked. And I also understand that the football players, you know, kind of enjoyed your good-looking presence at the pep rally. Wait till I tell them who you are. Thank you, Lou. It is my privilege to be here once again to induct a lot of wonderful people. And before I do that, I'd like to introduce the members of the committee that are here. This is the first time I've done this with all the light shining down on me like this. So anyhow, I think, I know Danny Holzer is here. Danny, can you stand up? Our basketball coach and the activities director. This is homecoming weekend also, so he's got a lot to do this. And Mary Lou Einloth. Mary Lou. And I know Carl Lindstrom is here. Carl. If any of you have any complaints about my tenure here, see Carl, he hired me. And Joe DePalma, I know, is here. Joe. Did anybody else come in, Danny? Because I can't. Is Mike Shelley here? Okay. And Joe, you know, I got a little bone to pick with you. When I came here as a young coach, there's a couple lessons that I think you could have taught me that you didn't do. And I'm talking about Doug Harmon in the same breath. It says here that Doug Harmon played every minute of every game his junior and senior years. Now, that's pretty smart to take your excellent player and keep him out there. I was under the impression that, you know, we were supposed to play everybody and keep all the parents happy. And so there was a lot of years that I tried to do that. And I think you should have shared some of this knowledge with me. But, you know, I'm not going to read all these things about Doug Harmon, but I can tell you this. He was an exceptional soccer player. I mean, he was outstanding at every level, whether he was here or whether he was in Colgate. This must be a Colgate night, Cush. How did you arrange this? So anyhow, you know, he was an honor student. He was in the National Honor Society, and he did many wonderful things. But best of all, he competed, and he helped our team win championships. Isn't it interesting that the team that wins championships usually has a couple of outstanding players? And I'm sure that your ability to compete has served you well in the banking community. Looking over your resume, I would say you have a very impressive resume in the banking community. I don't have great vivid memories of all that you accomplished on the soccer field, and I do apologize for that. But if Joe Palmer tells me that you were one of the greats, that's good enough for me. At this time, would you welcome Douglas Palmer to the Hall of Fame?
Thank you. It's really an honor to be here today, and I had a chance to go to the pep rally today, and I'll tell you, it seems like 29 years ago has gone really quickly. I wish I could have been back getting suited up and ready to play some soccer, get out on the athletic fields, but I owe a very big debt of gratitude to the administration, the teachers, the parents, coaches, my teammates, and my friends. I'm humbled to be here today. Thank you very much. Certainly my network for athletic success, I can attribute it to a couple things. It always starts with coaching. We talk about Coach Palmer. Certainly the characteristics that made him one of the winningest coaches in PIA history. Very uncompromising. He had a commitment to maximum effort, set very high standards for excellence. He inspired his team, he motivated people, he had a strong sense of moral purpose, and he had a very tough and disciplined manner. And I think that was something that all of our team rallied around. I would have to thank my parents, Peg and Ed Harmon, setting the framework for success and being supporting, loving, and disciplined to me, allowing me to fail and succeed on my own. And certainly my teammates, we were kind of a band of brothers. In every good team, championship team, there's always 5 or 6 people that are kind of the core nucleus of the group that really rally around the central vision. And our group was no different. We had a team that included Peter Smith, who was a Hall of Fame inductee recently, and David White, Dan Zemansky, Frank Erie, Scott Lewis, and good friends that also complemented this teammate group. My friend Bob Tass is here today as well. Thank you again for that. My family, my sister Paige and her husband Paul, and then 2 nephews, my nephews, Matt and Chris Solaire, who are outstanding golfers here as well. So it's a family affair. My family, Beth Harmon, and my 3 soccer players, Grace, Charlotte, and Henry. Just a couple quick notes about soccer and athletics, things that I took away from it. Very simple lessons, 5 lessons. The teamwork, it's really whether you're a business or a team, it's how do you work together, how do you have people with different agendas pulling the oar in the same direction. That's rule number 1. 2 is sort of personal accountability and responsibility. Finding, not blaming the referee, not blaming the other team, but looking at yourself, figuring out how you can what are you doing to make the team better. The thrill of competition, Coach Render mentioned that. Enjoying the battle, having a thirst for the competition, that's important. Hard work and dedication. I think anyone that's here in any avenue of success, there's always talented people that are not here. And there are people that are here because of sheer hard work and determination. And it's usually some combination of hard work and talent that forges that success. And then finally, it's just success and failure, knowing that you're going to be faced with both success and failure. I always tell my kids when I'm coaching them that you'll always have people that are better than you and people that are worse than you. And you have to know how to succeed and fail equally. So thank you very much.
Excuse me, I have to make a note here. It says don't coach in America with a Friday night game that's wearing a flower 2 hours before. I sacrifice a lot. Okay, I would like to talk about Chris McIntyre. One of Chris's famous lines or retorts is, "Coach, please." You know, if I said, "Can you block that guy?" "Coach, please." "Can you catch the ball?" "Coach, please." You know, when you get into the Hall of Fame or at the Hall of Fame, it's not always about statistics. It's not always about how many this or how many that. Sometimes it's just about competition and lining up with a lot of confidence. And I, as you know, have been blessed with a lot of great players. I doubt if I've had any with more confidence than Chris McIntyre. And, you know, when a big linebacker plays with a lot of confidence, it makes the coach look pretty good at times. And he also made himself look very, very good. And he also is a baseball pitcher. And I don't recall much about that either, but I would say that the confidence level probably had a lot to do with his ability to pitch a baseball. And his leadership, he was a quiet type leader. I mean, he has a smart mouth. I'm not sure which one. His mother's laughing. I recognize that laugh. Yeah, so I do have an idea where it came from. But a linebacker better play with confidence, and if his mouth's off a little bit down in the middle of the line, you've got to be able to back it up. So an outstanding athlete and an outstanding person who's very deserving, not because of stats, but because of competitive spirit that represented Upper St. Clair very well. Chris McIntyre.
Thanks, Coach. Kind words, I guess. You know, sound like a roast here for a couple of minutes. Yeah, we're not going to the microphone. But, you know, Coach, it was an honor to play for you. The Upper St. Clair football program is, you know, one of the best around. Coach Renner's one of the best. So it was definitely an honor to be a part of that program. Thank you to the committee for this great honor. And thank you for Doug for putting on such a great speech. And me trying up here to wing it, not a little too sharp. What they say about football players, Coach, you know, not the smartest group anyway. I'd like to thank my parents and my family for all their support, you know, time, financial-wise, everything that they drove the game since I was, you know, 5 or 6 years old playing football, and listening to my whine about the injuries to get out of chores. You know, there's kids out there. It's a great advice. You know, sprain an ankle, can't cut the grass. So keep that in mind. But they were always there supporting me, you know, from when I was a little kid all the way up until I was playing in college. So thank you very much for all your support. That's it.
If you read Chris's little bio, you may wonder if he made all conference at Boston University, why did he transfer to Hofstra? And the reason is Boston University decided that they no longer wanted a field football team. And Chris also had a couple of medical problems and was advised maybe he better give up. Well, that's not Chris McIntyre's makeup. So anyhow, on to Hofstra. You know, Lou, you talked about the dogs a while ago that led me to thinking about, they say a good coach should have 3 things: good dog, good wife, and a good quarterback. Not necessarily in that order. And my friend Bino Cook always talks in 3s. Bino says, 3 things he doesn't need is a wife, an ex-wife, and a car. Not necessarily in that order. Now, Lee, I'm not comparing you to dogs. Let's get this out of the way. But when I think of Lee, I do think of the 3 Ds. Beauty, brains, and basketball. And that's a pretty good combination. And just as I said about Chris, that when you enter a Hall of Fame, it's not always about stats. Well, I'm going to reverse it a little bit, because Lee's job was to shoot the basketball. And when I was thinking about that, Lee, I reminded myself of a story. I was playing basketball, all 5'9" of me, and the coach took me out after the first couple of minutes, and I said, "What's the matter?" He says, "You're not rebounding." I said, "Oh, it's going to be a long year if they're going to expect the shortest guy to go out there and get the rebounds." My point being is, Lee could do a lot of things, but her job was to shoot that basketball. And she did it as well as it's ever been done here at this high school. And she went on to WJ, where she did it again and again and again. I think over 2,000 points in her career at WJ. And of course, while she was in high school, in addition to being an honor student, she was all WPIL, all this, all that, and had a marvelous career in the game of basketball, and represented us extremely well, both here and at WJ. So it was a privilege to welcome Lee Silkowski into our Hall of Fame.
I would like to start off by thanking the committee for inviting me to this event. It's great to be back in this high school. I haven't been back here for a long time. So I feel really honored to be recognized with the rest of the inductees tonight. So I'd like to say congratulations to everybody. I was actually really nervous to figure out, I was trying to figure out how Mr. Render was going to introduce me, and as he started talking about dogs, I didn't know where he was going to take me. So I'm glad. Thank you very much for the kind words, Mr. Render. I appreciate that. But as I look out into the audience, I see a lot of the teachers that I've had, I see a lot of administrators that I have had the opportunity to work with over the years, and I just would like to take this opportunity to thank you for everything. And as you're going through high school, from first grade until 12th grade, I've had wonderful teachers, wonderful administrators, and I don't think as you go through high school you realize the opportunities that you have and how lucky you are to go through a school district like Upper St. Clair. And I definitely didn't, and I'm sure a lot of the people that I went to school with didn't, until you leave that environment and you see how other people see the environment other people grew up in, or the different experiences that you may have had as opposed to other school districts. So I'm very lucky to be a part of this district, and I'd like to take the opportunity to thank the teachers that I've come in contact with. They've really influenced me, and I'm sorry, Mr. Render, once again, I'm a teacher in my 11th, so yeah, I'm glad you didn't know that before you introduced me. But I just would like to thank you once again. Also, I had the opportunity to play for 2 very excellent coaches, Mr. Prince and Mr. Lees. They made sure that we were great on the court and off the court. We made sure that we kept up with our grades, that we were just great student athletes, and I think that's really important as well. So I would like to thank them for everything that they've done for me. My teammates were wonderful during that time. They're some of my best friends even to this day. And the things that we did together, a lot of people maybe wouldn't have had that opportunity to do those things. We went to Disney World together. We played outside. We used to play after basketball practice. Like Mr. Coons didn't run us enough. We went to go play tennis afterwards just because we liked being around each other. So that's the kind of teammates that I had, and they were great. We always had great teams, and we always had a good time, which is pretty important as well. I would also like to thank my family. My family has always been there for me no matter what. They're always very supportive. They've been to, I don't know that they've missed a game since I've been, how long I've been playing, 3 years. So it's really nice to have a family who supports me and has enjoyed following me in my career as much as my family has. So I'd like to thank you. And as far as my dad was the inspiration for why I started playing basketball. He's played basketball for a long time, and he started coaching. He got my brother and I involved in sports. So he was my first coach, and I'm the best coach that I've had. Sorry, Mr. Prince, if he's here. I can't really see with these lights. But I would like to say congratulations to everybody who's being inducted tonight. Thank you for having me back at Upper St. Clair. I'm very proud to be a graduate, and I appreciate everything. And good luck tonight, Mr. Redmond.
If you'll excuse me, I've got to get this flower off before the players see me. Kush, it's a shame I don't get to introduce you. I know Kane's going to say all these nice things, and it would have been nice if I could, a couple of things. Congratulations, Kush, and all the inductees. Very nice program.
Thank you, Coach, and good luck this evening. And Lee, I just want you to know that you were certainly not the only one in this audience wondering where he was going with that. With the celebration of the 10th induction class, the Halls of Fame has had some added excitement this year. Thanks to Mrs. Linda Budzinski and the Upper St. Clair Today magazine and staff, the Halls of Fame program has been selected as the cover story for the winter issue. This issue will exhibit many photographs from the day and evening events, highlighting our inductees, both past and present. If you do not live in the community, please make every effort to get a copy of the winter issue as a celebratory memento. To introduce our inductees into the Arts Hall of Fame is a gentleman who's been a part of our district since 1971. Mr. Bennett directed the Pit Orchestra for 25 years and was the curriculum leader of Fine and Performing Arts for 13 years. He currently serves as the theater's facilities director for the district and is an active board member on the Community Foundation of Upper St. Clair. He's also a member of the Arts Hall of Fame. However, one of the most impressive things about Mr. Bennett is that he served as our band director for 33 years. And I have to tell you, in thinking about preparing tonight, I couldn't get over all the similarities that struck me between Jim Bennett and Jim Redmond. So stay with me. They're both named Jim. Their last names each have 2 syllables. One is the head football coach for over 3 decades. One was the band director for over 3 decades. One gets all the fame and glory. One was the band director for over 3 decades. It's uncanny, the similarities. Please help me welcome the most famous band director I know, Mr. Jim Bennett.
Thank you. I'd like to recognize first 2 of the people who have been inducted into the Hall of Fame. Avi and George McClintock are here from the class of 2002 and 2003. So we'd like to welcome them. And then, of course, the people who helped make the selections for our inductees in the arts. I'd like to introduce our committee there, if they're here. Ms. Christine Hestwood, Claudia Benak, Paul Fox, Tom Kickta, Angela Peterson, John Small, and Don Fulmer. All of those folks had input into what we were doing tonight. Our 2 inductees this evening have something in common, 2 things in common. 1, neither of them are here. And 2, both of them are working at their profession even as we speak. The first one is Douglas Roth of the class of '89, who is a teacher, opera singer, vocalist, and speech pathologist. Doug Roth holds music degrees from the University of Cincinnati Conservatory of Music and Arizona State University, and a degree in speech pathology from Indiana University. He is currently pursuing a PhD in speech pathology at the University of Pittsburgh. In addition to serving as a voice clinician and singing vocal specialist at the UPMC Voice Center, he continues to sing professionally in the Pittsburgh area and maintains an active private vocal studio. His current research interests are with the laryngeal, I have that phonetically spelled, laryngeal effects of allergy and how people learn skilled vocal behaviors. In particular, his interest is how instructions and directed attention can be used to facilitate improved and expedited learning. Embarking upon a career in singing and now voice rehabilitation and research were not even remotely something Doug had initially considered in high school. In fact, his initial foray into performing happened almost by accident. As a sophomore in high school, unable to continue playing football following a neck injury, Doug decided to try out for the music band. Expecting to be cast in the chorus, he was quite surprised to be cast as Charlie Cowell, the anvil salesman. He attributes his desire to pursue his singing and performing talents further to the outstanding music program at Upper St. Clair and the encouragement of his music teachers. Doug's teaching also came full tilt when Doug was asked to serve as a vocal coach when Upper St. Clair produced Les Miserables, and that was in 2003. While at the high school, Doug was also seen as Dr. Gibb in Our Town, Mr. Kirby and You Can't Take It With You, Scrooge, and Tevye in Fiddler on the Roof, and Daddy Warbucks and Annie. Having a late start in singing and wanting to further his talents, Doug took a year off before he went to college, continued his studies with Lee Cass, Carnegie Mellon, and Lorenzo Malfatti, who became his longtime mentor. Doug chose to attend the University of Cincinnati College Conservatory of Music with a full honor scholarship. Upon graduating summa cum laude from Cincinnati, the voice faculty selected Doug as one of two recipients to receive a full scholarship to study at the Goethe Institute in Bonn, Germany. Doug's initial interest in voice health and rehabilitation came during his junior year at Cincinnati after he suffered a vocal hemorrhage. He had to travel to Philadelphia, which has a vocal clinic comprised of physicians, speech pathologists, and singing voice specialists who specialize in treating only vocal problems. Following his own rehabilitation, he returned to singing and was accepted into the Cincinnati Opera Young Artist Outreach Professional Training Program. He received further professional training at the Opera Theater and Music Festival of Lucca in Lucca, Italy, where he was selected to sing in the master class of Luigi Alva and studied with Claudio Cantanilla. It was there that he created the role of Cardinal Gesualdo in the world premiere of The Life and Death of Cardinal Gesualdo. Doug has numerous other opera credits to his role in his role as a soloist. Never forgetting the positive impact of therapists in Philadelphia on his own vocal recovery, and realizing his dearth of professionals qualified to address the needs of singers, Doug incorporated the study of vocal physiology and anatomy and cognitive science while at Arizona State. As a singing voice specialist, he has implemented the singing rehabilitation of numerous professional opera singers, touring musicians, theater performers, musical theater performers, college-level singing voice professors, international touring rock stars, in addition to many local singers and voice majors. He also maintains an active private voice studio and continues to make some time to sing in the midst of the work at the Voice Center in pursuit of his PhD in Pitt. Doug's sorry he can't be here this evening. He's previously engaged to present his recent research on the effects of vocal exposure to allergens at a conference in San Diego. Ladies and gentlemen, accepting the words of Doug Roth are his parents, Diana and David Roth.
Doug really is so disappointed not to be here today. This is a big deal in Upper St. Clair, and this is a big deal in the life of Doug Roth, and he's really sorry that he's not here. But I think he might even be more nervous because he's left me the opportunity to speak for him. It's my chance to be here. I'm surprised in all the things that were said about Doug. You know, things just sort of happen as life goes along, and you don't realize you're accumulating all those things and doing all those things in your life. But the one thing I think he's probably known here at Upper St. Clair High School is because when he had the role of Daddy Warbucks, he had a wonderful head of hair. I mean, just a wonderful head of hair. And when he was in middle school, I mean, it would be 30 minutes getting the hair just right. So when they suggested that Doug cut his hair off to play the role of Daddy Warbucks, it just didn't seem to go over real well. So he thought, well, there's always those skull caps. We'll use one of those skull caps. And it just was a pathetic disaster. It just looked awful. So in the midst of all of this, Mr. Paul Fox suggested to Doug that if he would shave his head, that he would do the same. And they did. And there's a wonderful picture that Doug presented to Paul at the time of his graduation that showed the two of them balder than cue balls. I mean, ball. But nice heads, very nice heads, right, Paul? But I know that Doug would be the first to tell you that he knows that any success that he has had began here as a result of the involvement of so many people who encouraged and nurtured him as he passed through his educational years in Upper St. Clair. Some would say that it takes a village, but in this case, it takes a township. So thank you to every parent, administrator, teacher, staff member, school board member, and to a community who supports the arts, because they know that playing in an orchestra or singing in a choir or putting on a show is much more than just frivolous fun. It is about educating the whole person and creating a quality of life. It is also about helping students learn so much more than just words and music, because so many of life's skills are learned and reinforced in participating in musical groups or in creating musical theater. And especially thank you for all the encouraging remarks spoken to Doug and for all the kindnesses over the many years that have passed. So many of you were there to plan and chaperone orchestra trips and choir trips, build stage sets, sew on sequins, apply makeup, teach clumsy boys to dance, and to direct orchestras and choruses that have been such an important part of Doug's life. Many of his peer friendships from those days remain an important part of his life today. All of you have given him memories to last a lifetime, confidence to face challenges, and have provided so many things that he needed for his educational and most importantly for his life's journey. The young man who once sang, "If I Were a Rich Man," didn't realize at that time the true richness that all of you will bring to his life. Thank you.
You know, Jim Renner and I go back a long way. We once had a film made about ourselves. Of course, the band kids made it. It was about Jim being on a band field instead of a football field. But we were both graduate assistants in West Virginia together. It's hard to believe that. But the most remarkable thing is that our hairstyles are the same. Just wanted to add that before we went any further. We have one other inductee, and I knew her as a student, but I never had her as a student. But in the mid-90s, I was watching CNN, and this young woman was doing the financial news, and I thought, I know I've seen her before. And then at the end of the credits, when they said it was Rhonda Schaffner, I knew why I recognized her, because she'd been a student here at Upper St. Clair. So I called CNN to try to get some information when we started with Halls of Fame. They denied not knowing her. I then called her next employer who did the same. I guess that's for protection. But finally, I Googled Rhonda Schaffner, and I came up with her husband's name, who was a media guy in New York with CNBC on the radio. I sent the email to him to find Rhonda, and it finally worked out. But it's taken a number of years. I've tried to find this woman to get her into this Hall of Fame since early in her career. And when you hear about her, you'll know why. Rhonda Shaffer, Emmy Award-winning broadcast journalist, and in 2009, anchor producer for Reuters Television. The daughter of a former federal bankruptcy judge in Pittsburgh, Rhonda attended Penn State University and earned a BA in journalism and political science. She and her husband, John Weinberg, who spent most of his lifetime career in broadcasting primarily as a radio news anchor with CBS News, WCBS in New York, live in Princeton Junction, New Jersey with their 2 children. I might add that she's a band parent. Now, that's not what originally got me moving with this, but certainly helps. She's a volunteer with the West Windsor Pennsboro High School Band. Rhonda is active in local community in other ways, serving as a volunteer at the New York headquarters of Dress for Success, an organization that is dedicated to helping disadvantaged women achieve success in the workplace. She is a frequent speaker for various nonprofit groups on financial topics. This summer, Rhonda began working for Reuters TV in New York as an anchor and producer. She anchors financial reports and interviews guests for a new multimedia platform known as The Insider, which is being developed for Wall Street audiences. Reuters TV formally launches this fall. Rhonda develops programs to highlight Reuters content, also works closely with text reporters and editors globally. Prior to Reuters, she was the anchor of Open Exchange on Bloomberg Television. She joined Bloomberg in 2006 after 9 years at CNN, where she served as a senior business correspondent. She anchored several CNN business shows, including Money Line Weekend and Business Unusual. She also created an anchored market call, which was aired on CNN's financial network, CNN FM. She anchored the network's breaking news coverage of 9/11, and in CNN Schaffler served as a correspondent at the New York Stock Exchange, where she covered major market milestones, including the Asian financial crisis. Prior to joining CNN, she worked as an anchor, reporter, writer at other media companies, including Dow Jones and Knight Ridder. In addition to covering financial news, she has also covered politics and general news. During 2005, she took a sabbatical from media to work on a microfinance project at the United Nations, where she also served on the committee developing curriculum for a new model of the United Nations program focusing on globalization, trade, and development. While a student at Upper St. Clair, Rhonda was a member of the Quill and Scroll Student Council, participated in a number of journalism-related activities, including serving as a staff editor on the Clairvoyant for several years, for which she was received a service award. She also was a member of the Student Council of the National Honor Society of Thespians. Student electives included creative writing and poetry. I asked Rhonda about her experiences at Upper St. Clair. She said the following: memorable experiences, making lifelong friends at USC, going to Friday night football games. I loved that USC was so close to the city. My friends and I loved going into the city, going to Oakland, to the Point, and watching the Pirates play. I didn't realize how lucky I was to go to school at USC until after I left. The English program is very strong. That's where I learned to write well and develop a passion for words. Working on the yearbook helped develop my understanding about how important pictures are to telling a story. At USC, it was at USC that I developed a strong foundation to pursue a career in journalism, which I knew I wanted to do since high school. I'm a very driven person, and while I knew I'd pursue a journalism career, I also thought I would do it closer to Pittsburgh. Where am I now? Embarking on a new phase of my career as a multimedia and web-based platform are used along with traditional broadcasting. I was recently in the city covering the G20, and my work was seen around the globe. I was proud to return to the city I always loved, proud that Pittsburgh was on the world stage. I've worked for many great companies, starting in local radio, local television, and then national television. Because I have 2 children, I decided not to jump to various TV markets, and was fortunate to be able to make a career in New York. What turns me on most about my career is that I do what I love. Journalism is a difficult business. It's a difficult business, and I've learned that success comes by continuing to move forward. As far as where I go from here, I have no idea. I'm just trying to work hard and enjoy where I am now. Rhonda is in Chicago this afternoon on assignment for Reuters. Accepting the award for Rhonda Schaffler is her mentor, yearbook advisor, and teacher, Jane Holm.
Thank you, Mr. Bennett. Next year, Jim, I think I'll focus on the similarities between you and I, and we'll start with there.
Never put those heads together.
Before we go on, I would like to cover just a few housekeeping items for our inductees and their families. Once the ceremony is over, we would ask that all the Halls of Fame members would come to the front to take some additional pictures. At that point, the family members can go ahead and head to the cafeteria to begin their dinner. Then around 7 or 10 after 7 or so, we would ask that the new inductees please make your way out into the theater lobby, and we will begin the procession from that point into the stadium so that you can be announced in front of the football crowd. It would also be my advice to the family members that you try to get into the stadium and to your seats by approximately 7:15 or 7:20. If you walk down the home side in front of the bleachers or in front of the stands, approximately at the 50-yard line, you'll see a roped-off area for the families and Hall of Fame inductees. And if you have any problems trying to find where you're supposed to be, please just ask one of the security officers along the way. To introduce our inductees into the Academic Hall of Fame is a lady who's a member of our Academic Hall of Fame herself. She has been associated with our district for 44 years, during which time she served as an English teacher and sponsored the National Honor Society and Clairvoyant. And it was under her supervision that the Clairvoyant won numerous national and state accolades for various elements of the yearbook. One aspect that I want to make sure I mention is that Jane is someone who's very committed to the Halls of Fame and takes the success of this production very seriously and personally. So much so that in the last month, Jane has watched me more closely than the paparazzi has watched John and Kate +8. Please help me welcome the Halls of Fame Chair for Academics, Ms. Jane Holmes.
Lou's on speed dial at my home phone. If you were here last year for the induction ceremony, you may remember that both Dr. O'Toole and Dr. Galani spoke of their plans to develop the impact of the Halls of Fame on the present high school students. They also invited the inductees to use their selection as an avenue to reconnect with their alma mater and to accept some responsibility for inspiring and directing students who might want to follow in their footsteps. As the director of the Upper St. Clair Halls of Fame, Mr. Angela introduced several major changes that he had made in the program. We all benefited from hearing the remarks of the inductees. Well, over the course of the past year, each of these men has been true to his promise. This year we have made significant changes that committee members and previous inductees have suggested for years. As a committee member, I would like to thank all of them for their efforts in strengthening our program. I especially appreciate the contributions of Lou Angela, who initiated and organized the speaking schedule for today, the presentation of the PEP Assembly, and the luncheon for the inductees and the committee members. I am also extremely pleased by the interest that Paul Savage, Heather Page, and David Bruton have made toward the creation of a Halls of Fame Foundation. So as you can see, we have had a very good year. I am also pleased to announce that on this 10th anniversary of the Upper St. Clair High School Hall of Fame, that we have a member present today from every class of the Academic Hall of Fame. As I introduce them, would the members please stand? From the class of 2000, please recognize David Bruton, Dr. Robert Christiana, Mrs. Shirley Norman, representing her husband, Dr. Niles Norman, and Dr. John de Blasio. Please welcome Robert Brosnahan and Frank Carr from the second class. Ann Gladden, George McClintock, and John Small are from the class of 2003. Mrs. Carolyn Sweet, I'm not sure how to pronounce that, is here to represent her husband, Dr. Stanley Zingle, from the 4th class. From the class of 2004, please welcome Jim Saunders. Leslie Vitalik Lee and Jim Purdy represent the 6th class. Ed Callahan is from the class of 2006, and Walter Hendricks is from the class of 2007. Ed Callahan is from the class, oh, did I say that? Sorry. From last year's class, we have Kathy Kirsch. I'm very proud to have approximately 1/4 of the Academic Hall of Fame present today. This June, when the Academic Hall of Fame Committee met, we had a very long meeting. All of our nominations came from the community, and our inductees had outstanding criteria and impressive recommendations. We were in awe of the accomplishments of these former Upper St. Clair students, and we believe that you will be in awe also. Our first student nomination is Ann Newman from the class of 1973. When I received her nomination last autumn from Jane Colley, her colleague from Pitt and a member of the community, I was so impressed with her field of expertise, i.e. geriatrics, that I wanted to put Ann on speed dial. I needed her as soon as possible. But we waited, and fortunately, I survived. Ann was a National Merit semifinalist who went to Pitt and earned a BS in biology, an MD, and an MS in public health. She is an epidemiologist and a geriatrician who studies the effects of aging. I would bet that her language to describe what she does is probably a little more scientific and socially acceptable than the words that I have used to describe the process of aging. Ann is a professor of epidemiology and the director of the Center for Aging and Population Health at the University of Pittsburgh. She has conducted numerous studies of disease and disability in older adults, and she has published over 300 articles for such works as JAMA and the Circulation and Journal of Gerontology. Dr. Newman has participated in Pittsburgh's cardiovascular health study, the Pittsburgh Field Center for the NIA study of health, aging, and body composition, and the Pittsburgh Field Center for the Lifestyle Interventions and Independence for Elders study. As an expert in the epidemiology of aging, Ann has focused on cardiovascular disease, sarcopenia, and disability. By the way, after exploring 3 dictionaries, sarcopenia is age-related muscle loss. I should have known. In addition to conducting the studies, Dr. Newman has trained numerous scientists and has shared her findings by serving on expert panels. In 1995, she participated in the White House Conference on Aging. Dr. Newman has been recognized as one of the best doctors in America since 1999. Ann is married to Frank Kirkwood, and they have 3 children. Please join me in recognizing Dr. Ann Newman.
So I wasn't sure if there was going to be an opportunity for us to get to speak. And I'm really pleased to have the chance to get up and to express my appreciation for this honor. I would like to particularly thank my friend Jane Colley, who 2 daughters went to school here. Her daughter Catherine is now in Harvard, maybe will become a Hall of Famer in the future, and I really appreciate her giving me this opportunity to have this honor by putting my name in for the nomination. I'd like to thank my parents, my brothers and sisters. I'm one of 10, and I have a good representation here today. We've come, including my youngest brother, who was a member of the state championship football team, and they're here today. In thinking about high school, I honestly hadn't thought about it at all for many, many, many years. I'm not someone who came to the reunions, though I'm here all the time because my parents still live in the same house where I grew up. So it's always sort of been there in the background. It was there as my brothers and sisters went to school, but I didn't think about it too much, except for a couple of things. I think that most, everybody who knows me has heard me talk about a couple of the teachers that I had in high school. First of all, I had Jane Holman for Honors English, and I told her today that the course that she taught was more advanced than any course that I had in college and put me in good stead to do well as an undergraduate. Dr. de Blasio, I don't know if he's still here. He was here earlier. When I came to Upper St. Clair, I had been in Catholic grade school at St. Thomas More, and they did not have any accelerated programming. Mr. de Blasio had a tremendous impact on my life by taking me out of freshman algebra and offered me the opportunity to get into the accelerated program here at USC by doing my sophomore math as an independent study with him. And I met with him once a week. He gave me the next chapter in the book, and I would do all the problems, and he would grade them. And I don't think that I would have ever thought of considering going to medical school if I hadn't had him show me how much I really enjoyed math. And then Mr. Carney in physics was also a very important teacher, was someone who really taught me that science was fun and that it was also cool. Being a girl interested in science at that time was pretty unusual, and I had such a good time in physics class that at the end of the year I left him a note that I totally forgot about. He's also a Hall of Famer, but is not able to be here tonight, so I met him for coffee a couple of days ago. And I just can't help but ask you to be patient with me as I read you just the first couple lines of this note that I wrote him. I was so shocked to see this, but it was such a homecoming. This is homecoming here today. And for me to see this, to see my handwriting, that it really hasn't changed, and to see what I wrote, how nuts I was, and to know that he kept this his whole career and was able to return it to me was a wonderful homecoming. Let me just read you the first couple of lines because it's so good. The cookie dough is ready. As I oiled the aluminum cookie sheet, the sun coming through the window hit me in the eyes. The blinding rays were reflecting off the shiny surface of the cookie sheet. Well, I thought, the angle of the sun must be equal to the angle of my eyes to the cookie sheet. And then I made the cookies. The cookies were for the concert. I go on to talk about going to a concert and describe light reflection, color absorption, the Doppler effect, logarithmic volume control on the stereo. It was just really something to see this. But I realized when I gave it to him that the reason that I wrote it, it's dated May 30th, 1973, was that I was leaving high school with a wonderful sense of what I liked and who I was, and I owe a great deal of that to him. And because it's homecoming, I also wanted just to read a few words from a book. I actually heard about this book from my son, who's trying to figure out what to do with his life. He's off in Alaska, just graduated from college. And he sent me a link to a website, and I found this, and I thought it would be appropriate to read to you today. When it is a place of shelter and love, there is no place like home. To be, we need to be home. When a place to belong is assured, the adventure of growth can begin with great promise. The Oxford English Dictionary states that a home also means a place where a thing flourishes or from which it originates. In such a subtle and unseen way, the home is the seedbed of individual presence. Home is where the heart is. It stands for the shore center where individual life is shaped and from where it journeys forth. What it ultimately intends is that each of its individuals would develop the capacity to be at home in themselves. When a person is at home in his life, he is always has a clear instinct about the shape of outer situations. Even in the midst of confusion, he can discern the traces of the path forward. When one is at home in oneself, one is integrated and enjoys a sense of balance and poise. And that is the true art of homecoming. That was written by an Irish poet named John O'Donoghue, and I think it's a wonderful piece that has made me reflect on what this award means and made me truly feel that this is a wonderful homecoming for me to come back to Upper St. Clair, so thank you.
Our second student inductee is Arlene Brown from the class of 1976. Although Arlene did not enter Upper St. Clair High School until her junior year, she made up time quickly. She maintained her perfect 4.0 from her previous school and became a valedictorian. She was a member of the National Honor Society, a National Merit Scholar, and a 4-year Westinghouse Scholarship winner. Arlene attended Bryn Mawr College where she earned a BS degree in biology. She returned to Pittsburgh to attend the University School of Medicine. Arlene married Dr. Mark Barrett as an intern in obstetrics and gynecology at McGee Women's Hospital. I am pleased to inform you that she helped to deliver Mary Muffley's son, Matthew. I can also assure you that that is not the only reason that Mary Muffley nominated Arlene for the Hall of Fame. After she had her own first child, Arlene did an internship in pathology and then a residency for the radiology department at the University of Pittsburgh. During her last year, she was the chief resident. Sometime during that period, Arlene also became the mother of twins. Arlene and Mark Barrett moved to Upper St. Clair so that their children could attend the Upper St. Clair schools. As a physician, Arlene focused her attention on women's health and especially breast radiology. She was a part of the breast advocacy movement that secured women's rights to annual high-quality screening mammography. As a board member for the Pink Ribbon Roundup, Dr. Barrett raised over $100,000 for the Susan G. Komen Foundation. She was a national representative in coalition of patient advocacy groups for NIH research. Currently, as a radiologist at Allegheny General Hospital, Dr. Barrett has written numerous papers and has made numerous presentations on breast radiology and the breast cancer advocacy program. She is a clinical instructor of radiology for the Drexel University Health Services Allegheny campus. In addition to her professional efforts, Arlene has recently become an advocate for people affected by rare developmental disorders. Arlene has served as a board member and a medical advisor to ACORD Alliance, a support group for families raising a child with disorder of sexual development. Arlene and her daughter Katie appeared on Oprah to help teens and young women address issues of sexual health and well-being. Arlene participated in writing clinical guidelines for the management of DSD in childhood and a companion handbook for parents. Arlene Brown Barrett has made outstanding contributions, both professionally and personally, to the Upper St. Clair, to the Pittsburgh, and to the national communities. Please congratulate Dr. Arlene Brown Barrett.
Well,
this is a tremendous honor. I see some of my teachers out there. If I shield the light here, Mr. Brosnahan, Dr. de Blasio, Mr. McClintock. Are you really out there? That's great. Well, as Jane told you, I'm a girl who never got away, but lived in Upper St. Clair and raised my family here. And as I'm here tonight, I see so many people who made a tremendous difference in my own children's lives. Mr. Barnett, Mr. Bennett, Mr. Callahan, Mr. Fox, Mrs. Muffley. I can't tell you how much I thank all of you for being part of my life and my family's lives. My parents lived in Upper St. Clair and helped me raise my family until just a few years ago. All of my children were graduated from Upper St. Clair High School as of 4 years ago, and they're all thriving and doing well thanks to all of the nourishment that they received in this community. I'm very proud to be part of this community and to see how it's flourished and excelled, our wonderful school district, our excellent community. I'm proud to be part of the community of the very brave women who live with breast cancer and to work in my advocacy group work with conditions that have affected my own family. My words to all of you would be something that Confucius once said, which is, wherever you go, go with all your heart. Thank you very much.
Our next inductee is Melanie Brown from the class of 1978. I first met Melanie when she came into my honors 9th grade English class in the middle of the year. It did not take me long to recruit her as a yearbook editor, for which she served in various capacities for 3 years. She also was an editor for the newspaper and appeared in 3 musicals. As a senior, she was elected the president of National Honor Society. Now, the next part of this biography might sound a little familiar, but stick with me. As a second child who followed a successful sister, I can relate. Melanie went to Bryn Mawr, where she was graduated with honors in biology. She then attended the University of Pittsburgh School of Medicine. Melanie did internships at UPMC in internal medicine and surgery and a residency in radiology. She was a chief resident for her final year. Although Arlene's and Melanie's training seemed similar, as radiologists they went in different directions. Melanie specialized in neuroradiology. She became an assistant professor in the Department of Radiology at UPMC, and later an associate professor and the program director of Neuroradiology Fellowship Program. In 1999, Melanie became the chief of the neurology department, a position that she held until 2001 when she left to become the director of the neurology department at Allegheny General Hospital. I learned about her position firsthand. In the spring of 2003, I was at AGH to have a procedure done in the neuroradiology department. As the doctor was preparing the foot-long needle that he was about to put into my back, I asked if he knew Melanie Brown. He informed me that she was his boss and that she had taught him the procedure that he was about to do on me. I knew that Melanie was a great student. I prayed that she was a great teacher. I'm here to show that she was. When I told the doctor that I had taught Melanie in high school, he and the rest of the staff came into the room and were eager to hear about what Melanie was like as a teenager. I promise you, Melanie, I did not reveal any embarrassing secrets. In addition to leading her program, Melanie has been the program director of the Neuroradiology Fellowship Program. For the past 8 years, she has been the program director of the Diagnostic Radiology Residency Program. Dr. Fouquet has made an invaluable contribution as she teaches residents, fellows, and colleagues in the highly specialized field of specialized medicine. Melanie has written numerous papers on innovative techniques in head and neck radiology and pediatric neuroradiology. She has numerous awards in these made many presentations around the country. She has been named Teacher of the Year several times. Undoubtedly, Melanie is an exceptional doctor and teacher. Melanie married Felix Buquet, and they have 2 children and live in Fox Chapel. Please join me in honoring Melanie Brown Buquet.
My goodness, I hardly recognize the person you were describing, except for the similarity she bore to the previous recipient, my sister. Anyway, this is really a treat to be here and to see old familiar faces, young familiar faces, and familiar faces. And I really do appreciate this honor. It is really quite humbling, especially when I see the company that I'm in. I'm very worried about being ungrammatical here with my honors English teacher, so bear with me if I fumble. Anyway, first I'd like to thank Mary Muffley for nominating me. And I know that a lot of work went into this entire program and into selecting everyone, so I thank the committee as well. But it really, I think we're here mostly today to look back at how this experience in the high school shaped us. And I can't help but think about all my teachers. And ironically, although you've heard from a third female scientist now, it's the English department that I think of the most. Mr. Brosnahan, I see you back there somewhere. But especially Ms. Holman, because she really taught me a love of literature, because I had her first, Mr. Brosnahan. She taught me to write, which is a rarity today and extremely important when you go into a scientific career. And she also taught me a love of images, which translated, I believe, into my ultimate career in neuroradiology. Of course, I must thank my parents, as I remind my children. They gave me life, and they've supported me all the way. My family, my children, my husband, my mother-in-law, couldn't do it without all of you. And I have a few remarks to add in there later, because I have the attention of 2 teenagers, which is an extremely unusual situation for me. And I'd also like to thank my sister for leading the way. Obviously, I didn't have much imagination, so if it hadn't been for my sister, who knows where I would have ended up. As a physician, I've always been interested in family history. And don't get too excited there. I won't take all the skeletons out of the closet. I'll share with you some of the less colorful, least colorful family history. But I do have to confess that I have inherited my father's chocoholism. His love of chocolate is legendary. And I think his proudest moment of me was when he discovered that I had a secret stash of chocolate in my office drawer, where many people I know hide their vodka. I have my priorities in line. You can breathe a sigh of relief, though I won't bore you with the rest of my family history. But I do want to end with one of my favorite quotes, which is on a similar line here to chocolate, which is Oscar Wilde. "Life is uncertain, eat dessert first." It appeals to me not only because I like to eat dessert first, thus setting a bad example for my children. But if medicine has taught me anything, and being a teacher teaches one that everything is a lesson, I think, it is that life is uncertain. And don't save the best for last. Do your best first. So thank you very much.
Our next inductee is Vida Tyke, who is not here, unfortunately, who was also a member of the class of 1978. Vida was a strong student who was a member of National Honor Society and was awarded several scholarships. When she went to Allegheny College, Vida continued to excel in academics and as a cheerleader after she was graduated cum laude with a BS in biology and psychology. Vida went on to focus on clinical psychology at the State University of New York in Binghamton. During the next 7 years, Vida earned her MA and PhD at SUNY while serving as an instructor and an adjunct faculty member. She also did a postdoctoral study in pediatric psychology at Brown University. After earning her PhD, Vida moved to Memphis, Tennessee, where she joined the faculties of the University of Memphis and the University of Tennessee College of Medicine. She also became a clinical psychologist for St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. Dr. Teich has remained with these 3 institutions for the past 20 years. Currently, she is an adjunct faculty member at the University of Memphis and a professor in the Department of Pediatrics at the University of Tennessee College of Medicine. Vida is a full member and professor in the Division of Behavioral Medicine at St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. As a clinical psychologist, Vida has focused her efforts on pain and symptom management on pediatric patients with chronic pain. Many of her studies have been of pediatric cancer patients and long-term survivors. Her 5 active grants are dealing with the efforts to eliminate smoking in teen cancer patients and survivors. Vida presents the results of her studies in numerous articles in publications, in invited presentations, in book chapters, and in her own classes. She is a frequent reviewer for the National Institute of Health and Starbright Pediatric Network. Unfortunately, Vida could not be with us today. Her friend from childhood, Kathy King, nominated her and is here to accept the honor on her behalf. Is Kathy King here?
To correct a teacher, that it's pronounced Vida Teich. That's all right. On behalf of Dr. Vida Teich, I am accepting her USC Hall of Fame Award. Although Vida could not be here tonight, she wanted me to express her sincere appreciation for considering and recognizing her for this special award. From her cheerleading days to the present time, she has followed the school's growth in the academic field, successful sports program, and expansive development. Vida considers Upper St. Clair High School as the foundation of her professional development and career efforts. She attributes a great part of her success to the opportunities available to her at USC High School and to the many teachers who taught and supported her throughout her 4 happy high school years. She will forever be loyal to the school that was instrumental in formulating her ideals, strengthening her values, as well as preparing her for the many challenges that she encountered over the years. Although she currently resides in Memphis, Tennessee, her allegiance will always be with Pittsburgh, and particularly with the finest high school in Western Pennsylvania, USC High School. Thank you.
Our next inductee is Christina Greenwell from the class of 1996. Like Melanie, Christina was in my 9th grade honors English class. I recruited her as a staff member as a freshman and promoted her to various editorial positions for the next 3 years. It's convenient to teach the 9th grade. Because of her journalistic contributions, she was inducted into the Quill and Scroll Honorary. She also was the president of forensics as a senior. Because of her excellence as a student, Christina was a member of National Honor Society and a valedictorian. After graduation, Christina went to Case Western Reserve University to study chemical engineering. She didn't get that in English class. In 2001, she earned a BS in engineering, summa cum laude. She was a member of the Tau Beta Pi Honorary and the president of the American Institute of Chemical Engineers, for which she received a Leadership Distinction Award. Christina was also the Vice President of Finance for the Alpha Chi Omega sorority. After her graduation, Christina accepted a position as a chemical engineer for Rogers Corporation in Rhode Island, which she held for 5 years. Christina also enlisted in the United States Army in 2001. As a captain in the Army, Christina was deployed to Baghdad, Iraq from December 2003 through March 2005. In 2004, Captain Greenwell was presented the Bronze Star Medal of Honor. When she returned home, Christina was married to Mike Mullins in June of 2005. She continued to work in Rhode Island until Captain Greenwell Mullins was deployed to Kuwait from August to July. Christina earned the Meritorious Service Medal. Christina shared her experiences with the students today. When Christina returned, she enrolled in the MBA program at Harvard University. She resigned her commission in 2009 and earned her MBA in June of 2009. This summer, Christina and her husband moved to Eastern Pennsylvania, where she works as a contract specialist with the United States Services Administration. Please join me in honoring Christina Greenwell Mullins for her outstanding achievements and her selfless service to all of us.
First, thank you to all the committee members for bestowing this great honor upon me. It is a great honor to accept this award. I just want to say a few words of appreciation. Won't take up too much of your time. I'd like to start by first saying that while my husband and I now live in Philadelphia, Upper St. Clair will always be home to me. And now that my husband and I are at the stage in our life where we're thinking about having children and buying a house in our new neighborhood, I find myself first and foremost always thinking about the quality of the education systems and the neighborhoods that we've been looking at. And I also find myself using USC as the gold standard by which I judge everything I've reviewed. And I feel it is a privilege to have learned or worked with a lot of the same teachers that I see actually on the academic honor roll, the arts honor roll, in the same Hall of Fame that I'm being inducted into today. So it's a great honor to have learned and be accepted here. I want to thank all those teachers and staff in the school district for giving me such a great foundation and a base of fundamentals on which to build. I feel that Upper St. Clair was just the start of my journey in life, and it opened a lot of doors to me that otherwise would not have been available. And next I want to thank my parents, because I understand that we almost moved to Cranberry when we moved to Pittsburgh in 1989. And so I'm very grateful that this is where we ended up deciding to stay. I also want to thank my parents for, in their own way, pushing me to always do my best and always helping me to believe that I could do anything I put my mind to. Finally, I just want to thank my sister, my brother, my extended family and friends for supporting me through the ups and downs of life. Definitely one of the biggest things I've learned in life is that life is a journey and not a destination, and I've been enjoying the ride. Thank you.
Our final student inductee is Julia Schad from the class of 1997. Although I did teach Julie in Honors English 9, I could not convince her to leave the tennis courts long enough to become a yearbook editor. Julie played on the varsity team all 4 years. As a senior, she was a captain. She won doubles in section playoffs, and the team won Whitbills. Academically, Julie was in the National Honor Society, and she was awarded the Superintendent's Award for earning a 4-point grade point average all 4 years. Julie enrolled at St. Mary's College in Notre Dame, where she studied psychology and social studies. As a teacher of secondary and middle school, Julie was awarded the Outstanding Future Educators Award for the state of Indiana in 2001. She was the valedictorian of her class at St. Mary's. When she returned to Pennsylvania, Julie became a social studies teacher at South Fayette High School. Since 2003 to the present, Julie has taught courses in AP, United States History, Civics, Psychology, and Sociology. In 2007, Julie was named the Pennsylvania Teacher of the Year in Social Studies. Julie also attended Duquesne University, where she earned her MS in Education and became a certified counselor for grades K through 12. Julie married Scott Martin, who also was a member of the class of 1997. They are the parents of a 6-month-old son named Griffin. Julie had an exemplary experience at Upper St. Clair and at St. Mary's College and Duquesne University. As a teacher at South Fayette, she strives to teach her students to aspire to the same levels of excellence. Let us congratulate Julia Shaw Martin.
First, I wanted to congratulate the fellow inductees because as I'm sitting out there listening to all of your amazing accomplishments, it's just so impressive and it speaks volumes for the excellence of the school district. I would also like to thank Mrs. Betsy Bazinski for nominating me for the Halls of Fame, as well as the Halls of Fame committee for recognizing and celebrating my accomplishments with me by inducting me into the Halls of Fame. Of course, I would like to thank my parents for always being so supportive of me, and as Lee mentioned, her parents always attending my athletic events and other important events. I don't think my parents ever missed anything of mine as well. And they also taught me the value of hard work. I would like to thank my husband, Scott, because he put up with my type A behavior and perfectionism as I worked on the curriculum for AP US History, Psychology, Civics, and Sociology, as well as did my graduate work. I was often up at South Fayette High School many Saturdays and Sundays, so I'm very fortunate that our marriage survived that in our relationship. But I also want to thank my parents, similar to Christina, or Kristen, was it Christina or Christina, sorry, for choosing to live in Upper St. Clair so that my sister and I could receive a quality education in one of the best districts in the state. I believe it is still #1 in the rankings. But the reason is awards are impressive and blue ribbons, but what's more important are the teachers, as many of the fellow inductees have mentioned, as well as the teachers. The teachers here at St. Clair not only taught me the material, but they taught me life lessons. They were a positive influence. They inspired me to work hard, and they challenged me to be creative and to think creatively. But more importantly, they taught me that learning was fun. And I want to give a few examples because some of them are here tonight. I know Mrs. Holman, we were pretty sure she had a secret love affair, although I don't think it was secret because she told us about her love affair with William Shakespeare. And she would bring in a birthday cake, which we all liked because we got to eat cake, and that was when you could still eat food that was not exactly nutritious. As I know today, I don't think we can bring in cookies and cakes anymore, but she would always bring in a cake to celebrate William Shakespeare's birthday, which I believe it was in April. I remember. And also, I would like to thank Mr. Callahan because we went to the wetlands and we raised fruit flies, which were very fun, hands-on activities. And then Doc Sanders for his, not only did he teach calculus, AP calculus, but also the pool party at the end of the year, which I have tried to incorporate with my students. I don't have a pool. Well, actually, I do have a pool in our plant. Actually, that's a good idea. But I could have a pool party, actually. Maybe I will. But what I do is I allow them to come up and watch relevant videos. We have a pizza party, and of course, it's bonus points. But I'm sure a lot of them would come anyway. And then, of course, Mr. De Palma, I had him for English, and I remember he had to teach the handbook, which is never very much fun. And at South Fayette, the social studies teachers get the pleasure of teaching the handbook every year. And Mr. De Palma, for extra credit, he could sing the alma mater. So, of course, I would sing that for you. I still know the alma mater by heart. I will not sing it because my voice is terrible. But I do have my students do the same thing, the opportunity of having bonus points. And they also enjoy hearing me sing the Upper St. Clair alma mater every year. And then, of course, Mr. Fox, I didn't have Mr. Fox, but as what Mrs. Roth commented, the fact that he would shave his head is actually, that speaks wonders, and it tells you about the types of teachers we have here at this school district. So thank you very much. And when I thought about what I wanted to do with my career path, I knew I wanted to do something where I would have a positive impact and be able to make a difference. And when I thought about the people in my life who have done those things for me, in addition to my parents and my teachers, which is why I did choose the field of education. And I'm reminded of my teachers every day when I walk into my classroom, because I have a quote that's next to the garbage can, because I see that every day and throw out things. And it says, children may forget what you teach them, but they never forget how you make them feel. And so thank you for doing that for me. And I guess that's it.
It may take me a while to recover or to figure out if it's a positive or a negative thing that the students thought that I had a love affair with someone who'd been dead 400 years. How pitiful. Although I do love the Bard, I do. I still teach him, by the way, to adults, some of whom are older than I am, and they love him just as much. It is my great honor to introduce the final member of the Academic Hall of Fame class of 2009. Contrary to the rumors that have been spreading rampantly, Dr. Terrence Kushner did not insist that he be the only male selected for the class of 2009. Although we know that Terry will certainly enjoy the class reunions, the lack of other male inductees was pure circumstance. But fear not, gentlemen, Dr. Kushner will represent you well. When I presented his nomination form to my committee this summer, after his retirement, every person on the committee had his or her own personal story to tell about why Terry should be selected. Each person wanted to illustrate how committed Terry was as an educator, an administrator, a community member, and a friend. Although we all had been in the district longer than Terry had, we were hearing many of the stories for the first time. He was such a consistent and devoted person that he did not flaunt his efforts or accomplishments. He just discreetly and quietly performed his roles as a high school associate principal, as a principal, and finally as the assistant to the superintendent. We knew that he would always be there to support and represent the student, the staff member, and the community. Although he had taught and coached in numerous other districts in the Pittsburgh area, we were proud that he had spent his last 24 years with Upper St. Clair. We liked to believe that he finally had found the best school and that he had stayed with it. Whether individuals worked with Terry as a math teacher, as a football coach, as a principal, or as a mentor, everyone knew him as a gentleman. No one ever doubted the ability of this Colgate and Pitt scholar, of this enthusiastic football coach, or of this compassionate person. Terry's wife Pam and his children are here to honor their father. It is my pleasure to introduce our final inductee, Dr. Terry Kushner.
Before I say anything, I want to clear one thing up, Mike. I like pep assemblies. I was just happy when they were over. First of all, I'd like to thank Mr. Luangelo for nominating me, and also thank the Hall of Fame Committee for selecting me for this tremendous honor. Congratulations to the other honorees being recognized today. These bios are unbelievable, aren't they? Every year I come to these events and I bring the bios home with my wife and I just marvel over the accomplishments of our St. Clair grads. It's unbelievable. Also, I'm very pleased to have my family here, as Jane mentioned. They're here to help share in the celebration, and I thank them for adjusting their work schedules to get here this evening. It's also great to see so many friends here. The Hall of Fame has become kind of a reunion for all of us old folk, so to speak, who get to see all previous honorees and also some of our former teachers, students. I'd also like to thank the board, administration, and Dr. O'Toole for supporting this event. By the way, Pat, I miss our morning meetings and our discussions about how to fix the cards and so on. But maybe we'll do it by phone. This Hall of Fame to me is very important because it's significant in passing on the culture, which is very significant in this fine community. Last week I mentioned to Lou Angelo that I was looking for something profound to say this afternoon because, getting in the Hall of Fame, you kind of expect to say something like that. He said, Push, just speak from the heart. So I've decided to take his advice and talk briefly about my feelings concerning working at Upper St. Clair. I have to tell you, it is a great place to work. To be truthful, there are many challenges. It's hard work, like the pep says. But the positives far outweigh the challenges. The personal relationships and friendships developed here, the outstanding accomplishments of our students and alumni, and the mystique of Upper St. Clair. And believe me, there is a mystique about this place. The old Heffron Tillotson commercial, when Upper St. Clair talks, everybody listens. It's true, particularly in the education community. But all these things really make Upper St. Clair someplace special. My wife Pam could attest to this. In 23 years of working at Upper St. Clair, I've never had the Sunday night blues. I've never ever dreaded going to work. At times there were issues I didn't necessarily look forward to, but I never had a day when I didn't want to come to work at Upper St. Clair. There's a Zen Buddhist philosophy that kind of summarizes my feelings about working here. And bear with me through this quote. The master in the art of living makes little distinction between his work and his play, his labor and his leisure, his education and his recreation. He hardly knows which is which. He simply pursues his vision in whatever he does, leaving others to decide whether he's working or playing. To him, he is always doing both. At Upper St. Clair, I've always thought that I was doing both. And I'll tell you, that's a tremendous benefit to anybody who's worked in a situation. I truly have loved coming to work here every day. Now, today, bear with me another minute. Melissa Tungate asked me to come and speak to her class about how to go about developing a speech. She asked a math teacher to come to an English class and talk about developing a speech. And what I did was go through the preparation that I put into this speech, and I asked him to help me with the conclusion. I gave him 3 options, and we kind of voted on which one they wanted. They wanted me to do 2 out of the 3. So you get 2 this evening. First of all, I tweaked the alma mater a little bit, and I said that I'd like to say thanks to the Panther Reign and to dear old Upper St. Clair for providing me the opportunity to work here. And the other conclusion comes from one of our community members, Winnie Frace. I don't know if you know Winnie. She's a local octogenarian and kind of a local philosopher. She might even be older than 80. I don't know. She's just a little lady who comes to all our board meetings, very bright. She's never at a loss for awards. She called me to congratulate me for this award, and I told her, Winnie, I am honored and humbled by the recognition. And she said, Kushner, cut the crap, just accept it. Accept the honor and enjoy it. And I'm going to do that. Thank you very much.
Now that you have met the Academic Hall of Fame class of 2009, I hope that you can understand the excitement that our committee felt when we selected the inductees. I also hope that you will help us to enhance our program and the impact that the Halls of Fame has on the present students of Upper St. Clair High School. Thank you so much for attending our 10th anniversary, and please plan to return again next year.
Just
Just before we conclude, I just want to make a few thank yous here. Thank you to our speakers, Dr. O'Toole and Dr. Galani, as well as the members of the school board, central office personnel, the administration, our past inductees, our families, and current staff members for joining us tonight. I also want to thank our committee chairs, Jane Holman, Jim Bender, Jim Bender. That was that similarity thing. Jim Bender and Jim Render, and the members of their committees for dedicating their time and energy into the selection process. These are the people who really get their hands down and dirty through this whole process. It's not an easy process, and I really want to say sincerely, thank you very much for all the time you put into this. I also need to thank some people for the behind-the-scenes work that they've done. Christy Dawson, Danny Holzer, Sheila Lloyd, Susan Osuno, Tracy Stringy, Kathy Kirsch, Mr. Jace Palmer, and our maintenance department, Aramark, and my secretary, Mrs. Linda Moses. Thank you to the teachers who so graciously invited our inductees into their classrooms. Mrs. Carolyn Cusick, Mr. Uwe Schneider, Mrs. Deanna Baird, Mrs. Betsy Hess, Mrs. Kathy Bowen, and Mrs. Melissa Tungate. And finally, I would just like to publicly thank our student hosts who helped us today and served as ambassadors to our inductees, students like Christian Beck, Alonzo Diaz, Phil Dormish, Tyler Dobnak, and Kelly Sweeney. Finally, I would like to also thank the 3 Halls of Fame members, David Bruton, Heather Page, and Paul Savage, for offering time, expertise, and money to initiate our Halls of Fame Foundation and Scholarship. In closing, I would just finally like to say congratulations to our new inductees and to all of your families. It's been a true honor serving as your Master of Ceremonies, and I hope that you enjoy this event. As members of our Hall of Fame, you are now part of a very growing elite family, and I hope that you come home every year and spend this same occasion with us as frequently as you can. Once again, thank you, and congratulations to each and every one.